Welcome back. If you saw my last video, we took this motor out, we did some checking on it, we took it out to the lake, and the motor is completely seized. Let me just let you hear what that sounds like. Battery's fully charged. It won't turn over. Pretty sure we have multiple cylinders that have blown up. So, my wife has very specific instructions about boats that I have to follow, and that is that I can't keep them in the driveway. So, I have to get this boat out of the driveway, but we really need to do something with this boat to get it running again. Right now, I have two options. I can put this 9.9 on the back. It's tiller handle, steering, and I don't think I can adapt any of the shift cables, but I think I have a much better idea. We've got this Mercury 115 sitting here, just sitting on the engine stand, and I think all of the shift cables and throttle cables hook up the exact same way between the two motors. They're both 73s. So I don't know if this actually like runs that well. I've only heard it like turn over and hit a few times, and I turned it off immediately. But I've done compression checks, and all the cylinders actually have compression, unlike that motor right there. So we're gonna try and do this, and over this weekend is just switch these two motors out. So I'm gonna work on unhooking this motor, marking all of the electrical. I'll videotape that as I do it, so I have a video record of how I unhooked it. Then this motor's probably only about 120 pounds, maybe 100. But that I can't lift that motor up by myself. I've already tried. So I'm gonna have to build some type of gantry out of 2x4s to lift it and put it on the back of this here. So we'll try and do that this weekend and capture it on video and show you guys. Let me pop this motor cover off and we'll look at the electrical system. So pulled the motor cover off, and I don't know if you can see it yet, but a whole bunch of metal things came out, and right here. That it's not supposed to be like that. So yeah, this motor is completely done. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and just scan over all of the wires. This is the main wiring harness right here. So it comes down and it has these wires that come out of it. This is actually for the, oh no, I got those mixed up. So this is the starter wire, comes over and does this. That is going to go directly to the solenoid, but it's already hooked up on the other motor. So on this motor, we'll need to do this battery cable. This is the ground. It's grounded to the housing in here. This distributor wire looks like it's just a ground. And this is, so the main harness comes in here. Gosh, another piece of metal. That's crazy. Main harness comes in here and comes out right here. It's got a few wires coming out of it. This is probably the so this is going to be, I don't know what color this is, but this goes to the solenoid. Comes out right here. Then we've got, these wires are all bound up. It looks like we've got a wire that comes to the rectifier straight out of the wiring harness. This is just a ground going from the solenoid. Okay, and we've got another wire right here that goes to the other side of the starter solenoid here. So I'm going to say that that's my on switch or something. I'm not 100% sure. Can't remember how those actually work, and every time I try and think about it, I can't figure it out. Then on this side, I'll just turn the motor a little bit. So we've got, this is all fucked up anyway. This is just a ground. And it looks like out of this wiring harness, it's clamped down, so it's kind of makes it hard to see. But we've got where does this go? Which of these is the wiring harness? Oh, okay. So on this side, this is actually going to the distributor. So this is the power wires for the distributor. So we don't need to worry about this and the wires that come out of it, because that'll be wired up on the other one. What we have to worry about is these wires that come from the wiring harness, and it's 3 wires. It should be a white, we've got red, and brown. So this should be our signal wire for the tachometer. Red and white, I don't remember what they do off the top of my head, but they're important. But we take those off and we'll label them, and that should be all of the electrical that goes from the harness that actually comes from the control panel up there. So that should be all we need, electrical wise. Okay, I'm taking more video of this as I take it apart. I got the throttle and shift cables undone. They're brand new. I literally just replaced them. There's literally like pieces of metal all over this thing. Look at this. It's just crazy, like how much damage was done. Even got pieces of metal here. It's just wild. Try and keep these out of my driveway. Still shifts fine, so the lower's good. Honestly, I'm kind of thinking about, taking up the idea of taking the power head off and putting on like a lawnmower engine, since all of the connections are still, since the lower unit is still perfect and it would use all of the shift cables and all that. I feel like that's a fantastic idea. We'll see. Disconnected the positive lead off the solenoid, and I have this double wire that went onto the positive lead of the solenoid as well. So they were connected on the same post. Literally just doing this to make sure I get every little piece. Okay. Okay, so I'm taking this entire plug and wiring harness, gotten a few things off. I did break the solenoid trying to get this out because I just turned on the wrench too hard and all of these are rusted. So I think I'm gonna break a few things whenever I take these off, but a lot of this is junk. The only thing that I think I'll be able to sell is this control box. I know it's good, I can sell it on eBay. I even have videos to prove that it was running on the motor. So this is the only thing I really don't want to break. Everything else can go. And I think, I don't know for sure, I'll have to look at the wiring harness for at the wiring diagrams for the 115, but I think I can get this wiring harness and plug to work on the 115. I've just got to figure out where to mount it. And I really don't have a clue. No clue whatsoever where I would mount it. But gosh, it would be cool if I could have a wiring harness with a plug for this motor because I plan on using it for the HydroStream. I don't know. Anyway, back to work. Okay, so I've taken the rectifier out. It did not cooperate. I had to cut one of the cables. And all of these nuts stopped right at the last thing and I spun them. So I think I ruined the rectifier, but I'm not sure. Comment below if I haven't. Now I'm just noting here, white, red, it should be brown. Yeah, these three are now coming off. Just trying to, the colors of the wires, this is no longer white. This is not white at all. Weird. All right. Okay, so we freed the wiring harness from the engine. We're going to look at how to hook that up, but really we can do that while the 115 is on the boat. I think the next steps are just straight up like, dude, this is the type of wiring this thing had. Just completely corroded and done for. Anyway, we're going to disconnect this fuel line. Actually, we might just do it from the tank here because it has a quick release at the tank. My hand is bruised, so I can't really turn that very hard. But then we've got this. And we'll take this whole arm. We'll unscrew this here. take this, it'll come out with this and this, and then the engine will be completely disconnected from the boat. I think what we're going to do is we're going to lift it and put it on to this stand with this 9.9. I think this stand is robust enough to hold them both. I mean, it's brand new. I just made it for all my small engines, but I didn't anticipate putting one big motor on it. But I think that's the best place to put it for now. We'll scooch this one over, throw that on there, and then we'll try and get that mounted. I think it's a pretty straightforward thing. All right, it is now dark. We have finished fully disconnecting the motor. Now we just take these clamps and these bolts. There's another one on this side, but I don't think there's any other bolts. And should be good. I would say I'm learning my lesson, but I would have bought this boat regardless of whether or not I had known the engine was like this. And to be fair, I probably would have driven it until it broke anyway. I think the problem is this doesn't have a head on it. So if I could have taken the piston or the connecting rod out and gotten to the lower somehow to undo the connecting rod, I would have definitely done it. But there's no way of doing that on this motor. You have to literally disassemble. You have to take the power head off and then take the motor all apart. So I'm not going to do that. Anyway, Tomorrow I'll build a little gantry crane and put casters on that motor mount shelf thing, and we'll lift this motor off and put it onto that wooden thing over there. Okay, so I've been looking over the wiring harnesses after I finished taking the 650 wiring harness out. What I found out is that the Merc 1150 has a wiring harness stock, and it has a round plug that comes in through a hole in the bottom cowling. It's a circular hole on the, if you're looking at the motor from the front, it's on the left side of the engine. The 650, it all comes in through one hole. The battery cables, the wiring harness plug, and the shifter and throttle cables comes in on the right through a single hole. I found out, and this is the most important and awesomest thing, that the wiring harnesses use all of the same colors, and all of the components are exactly the same. There's the same number of wires. The grounding, there's a little bit of weird ground straps that happen between the two, but ultimately everything is the same. So the remote control is the same. So all of the wires that come in, there's the same number of wires that come in, and it goes to all of the same places. So I can take the wiring harness out of this 650 and put it into the 1150. It's pretty fantastic. Yeah, there's one key difference here, well, two key differences. The 12-volt battery, if you're doing this yourself, on the 1150, the wires would come in with the plug. So the plug would actually put the black and red from the battery through the actual plug connections, or the electricity would go through the plug connections. Whereas on the 650, the battery has separate battery cables that come into the cowling. They're not part of this little plug. We saw this earlier on in the video, whenever I discovered this plug. I didn't even know this existed until now. So that's one difference. The other difference is that since this receiver plug for the wiring harness on the 650 is on the right side of the engine, and this would normally come in on the left side for the 1150. If I come in from the left side, there's an issue with how long the choke wire is. So normally it would, the wires would come in on the right, and the entire wiring harness, there's a few wires that come out for the solenoid and rectifier, and then it goes over the top of the motor, and there's one little wire that comes out there, and that's for the choke on the 650. On the 1150, everything is on the left. The solenoid, the coil, everything is, the switch box connections, the rectifier connections, they're all on the left. And there's one wire that would come out and go up to the electric choke solenoid. It's not a big deal. Neither of these two issues are really a big deal at all. But those are the main differences if you're doing this switch and have the same issue as me that you might run into. For me also, my remote control box, the choke switch, I already had it apart whenever I changed the throttle and shift cables, and the choke switch wire was broken off in there. So the switch works, but the wire doesn't even connect into the harness. So it doesn't even matter for me, really. I've got to wire up a whole new wire for that choke no matter what. So yeah, this is looking pretty great. Like and subscribe. If this video gets tell you what, my most important, or my most not important, watched video right now is the boating in the Mississippi, and we had that sunken boat that was part of the video and in the thumbnail. If I get... So whenever I get 100 subscribers, I'll go out and see if that boat is still there. If it's there, I'll give an honest effort into unsinking that boat. Deal? I think that's fair. All right. Like and subscribe, share this video with all of your friends. Have a good one.